Here's what you missed at Glaucoma 360. Hello and welcome. I'm Carey Powers, and we're coming to you from Glaucoma 360 in San Francisco. Today, we're exploring how industry innovation in technology and therapeutics are transforming glaucoma care. I'm joined by two powerhouse leaders in glaucoma who bring unique perspectives from both clinical practice and the innovation ecosystem. Dr. Christine Funke, a glaucoma specialist at Barnet, Dulaney, Perkins Eye Center, and Dr. Barbara Wirostko, clinical adjunct professor at the Moran Eye Center, a glaucoma specialist, and chief medical officer of Qlaris Bio. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carey.
So, Dr. Wirostko, I first want to say congratulations on being awarded with the Visionary Award at last night's gala. Very well-deserved honor.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really an honor. And it was really nice having my family there too and so many friends. It's really nice.
Thank you for everything that you're doing to advance glaucoma patient care. You both just led a panel on glaucoma technologies and therapies that are coming to market. So I'd love to hear your perspectives as glaucoma specialists in clinical practice. How do you evaluate new technologies and therapies when considering whether to incorporate them for your own patients? Dr. Funke, let's start with you.
Yeah. So, I think step one with any time you're wanting to think about something new and using it in the clinic is first you have to understand the technology, right? So it's really nice to have the backing clinically that you can read up on the technology, understand the functionality of it. Because for me, I'm somebody who really likes to understand the true mechanism of action so that it can make sense for me in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish for patient care. From there, if I feel like that fits in with my practice model and how I want to treat patients, then we'll take it in-house and usually I'll do a test run. So I usually do several cases, somewhere between 3 to 5, watch how they do over several weeks to months, depending on what we're looking for an endpoint, and then start to expand it out from there. So it's kind of just a little bit of a slow grow at first, which I think is important to know that when we're trying to integrate new technology, right, we're learning alongside that technology. So it takes a little while to get comfortable and find the right patient base and population for that. And then once you do, again, then you can start to see the growth really naturally.
Dr. Wirostko?
And I think Christine hits upon something that's really key is that patient's experience and that patient's need. I think, I don't know about you, but I feel like we've got so many options now, which is great, but can actually be a little bit overwhelming. So I would like to hear more about the mechanism, the safety, the efficacy, but then almost try to personalize it and try to figure out in my hands which therapy is going to be the most efficacious for that type of patient.
Absolutely. And so I think for other clinicians out there too, to realize when you're taking in new technology, be kind with yourself too as you're learning that, and don't give up too soon. Because I think a lot of us, if we have one bad experience at one time, and maybe it just wasn't the right patient that we're placing this device or therapy in, and then suddenly we just abandon ship, when really we're missing the fact that there could be a lot of other patients who could benefit. So.
Makes total sense. Dr. Wirostko, you've been deeply involved in translating new ideas from the lab and clinical research into the practice for glaucoma patients. So from your vantage point, what are the most important lessons you've learned about moving these promising concepts through the development process?
So I think the first thing that I always tell people, and in fact, I was talking to a colleague of ours this morning, is you need IP. I think so often investigators, bench scientists, clinicians think that you need to have a lot of data, almost like you're publishing a paper to write a patent or to file a patent, and that's not true. You could file on a concept and then over the year develop the data. But when you're thinking of getting investors to fund something and move it forward, you really have to have that intellectual property behind it, that IP behind it. And then I think the other thing, and we touched upon it in our panel, is reimbursement and market share. You could have the best idea, but if it's not going to get reimbursed and nobody's going to pay for it, it'll just never become a product, unfortunately.
So true, so true. So Dr. Funke, when new technologies are coming to market, what do you wish industry understood better about the realities of clinical practice and patient needs?
I think the first thing is you really want to get a good pulse on exactly what I was saying, which is how is this technology going to hit in the real world, right? So it's going to sound great, in closed doors and behind closed doors and in these nice confined spaces where you're creating that technology. But then when you go and bring it out, you really want a true voice as to, will you use this technology? How is this improving your practice in clinical care? What pain points maybe this is improving upon, right? So I think first is really getting a good understanding and a true understanding of the reality of the situation. Once your new technology is out into the world, you have to give it time. Um, you have to understand that bringing in new technology as a clinician can be frightening in a way, right? We want to only do the best things for our patients. Um, and so it's hard to learn something new on individual people that you're caring for, especially with glaucoma. I mean, these patients are ours forever. And so we want to do the best always for these people, but also we want to bring them the best options and technologies. But again, bringing in new technology takes time. You have to, again, do that assessment like we talked about initially of a couple of patients and then start to understand where it fits best in your hands. And some people will have different experiences than others. And I think that industry needs to just understand that it is a slow roll at first, but then once you really get comfortable, that's when you're really going to start to see that market share pick up.
And I think too, even though for clinical trials, you try to your greatest success in a clinical trial is to have the most homogeneous patient population. But that's really not the real world. I mean, I am still doing endothelial cell counts on patients of mine with CyPass. So, that was a great technology that we were very excited about. But then over time, we learned that there was some safety concern. So you learn as you go. You're absolutely right. New technology is great, but it's got to be the right thing for your patient in your hands. And every doctor's different.
So we're here at Glaucoma 360, hotbed of innovation today. We're hearing about really exciting technologies on the horizon. So as you look out to the future, what are you most excited about?
I think I'm most excited about diagnostics improving. Glaucoma, we've had a handicap for a very long time of being unable to understand truly how we're impacting the disease. So we have all these wonderful technologies, especially new things with drug deliverable devices and different MIGs, and we've become very safe in terms of what we're doing technologically. However, we're not really good at understanding how we're changing the pathophysiology of the disease. And so it's because we don't have diagnostics. We don't really have good support for home monitoring or IOP monitoring, even intraocularly. Home visual fields, I think, is a really exciting idea, but things where we can get a lot more data, because we need a lot more data to truly understand what we're doing and what impact we're making, because having a field every 6 to 12 months is just nowhere near helpful enough. And doing an IOP every 3 to 6 months is definitely subpar. So we are so far behind, I think, in terms of that component of what we do with this disease. And then we're so far ahead surgically. And so we need to kind of come at some point to a place where we can really, truly understand what we're doing and how we're impacting people's disease. And I think that will also help bring a lot of other surgeons into the fold of wanting to do more of these new technologies. Because right now, it's not that our data is lacking, but it's just slow to come out.
Yeah, it is. We really are. It's kind of crazy. In fact, I was going to mention this last night and I forgot. But, and you take a step back and you think about how we treat this disease. It's a chronic optic neuropathy, and we make a hole in the eye to deflate the eye. Like it just seems, and it works, but why does it work? And it probably is because you're reducing the fluctuation and you could be improving perfusion because your IOP's lower. And there's so many other contributing factors that we don't understand. So I think when I take a step back, what excites me is understanding the pathophysiology, and rather than being just reactive, we need to be proactive. So whether it's early diagnosis, it's genetics, it's trying to figure out who that patient is, it's IOP fluctuation before they get damaged. And it's the innovation around treating it as a retinal pathology.
Yeah. And I think also we've started to talk more about neuroprotection, which is really exciting that that's starting to get another potential new way of modulating this disease, which is going to be massive if we can get our hands around.
And it's so crazy because, ocular perfusion is not a new concept. I mean, Alon Harris spoke about it and wrote about it and educated us on it 20 years ago now. And we've always talked about perfusion. We've asked our patients about Raynaud's and migraines, but yet we've never focused on it. So I think that's also something that's really exciting.
Very exciting. Well, thank you both for taking time out of your practice to be here with us today at Glaucoma 360 and for all the work you're doing to advance glaucoma care.
Thank you.
For more information on the Glaucoma Research Foundation and their work to cure glaucoma, visit glaucoma.org.